everybody, welcome to Pale in Comparison, a proud member of the Doof Network. In this podcast, my sister uses her knowledge of the Otherverse to take a look at Pact, the only Wild Bow web serial shorter than the Bible, and I try to not give away any spoilers. I'm Jenny, and Malia convinced me to read Worm.
I'm Malia, and Jenny convinced me to read everything else. This episode, we are covering Subordination, chapters 6.12 and Histories, Arc 6. Before we get into that, however, I'd like to issue a spoiler warning. This podcast is filled with pale spoilers. If you don't know who fought Milo Sanjite in the rafters and don't want us to tell you, stop now, read Pale, and come back to this podcast. As for Pact, there'll be full spoilers through the chapters we are covering.
Before we start, just want to say congratulations, Malia, because she's engaged.
Oh,
yay! So that's exciting.
Yes.
So if anyone missed that, that is the reason that we did not release like a full-on episode.
A real
last
episode.
week. A real episode. Hopefully it was still somewhat entertaining to listen to, but yes, that is the reason, which is a pretty damn good reason. Although, Malia, I'm sorry, I have to give you a little bit of crap for this. She did, like, it didn't occur to her that, like, maybe she shouldn't be recording, like, on the day that, like, her fiance proposed to her, because she, like, we got together and I was like, okay, you ready to record? She's like, yeah, I'm late with my notes, but I have a really good excuse. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Don't worry about it. And I was just gonna, like, and she was like, well, do you want to hear what my excuse was? And I was honestly gonna be like, no, it's okay, don't worry about it. But I was like, well, she wants to tell me, so okay, Malia. And then she's like, I got engaged. And I was like, oh, that's great. And then I was like, wait a second, aren't you guys going to dinner or something? And like, why are you recording? She's like, oh, I don't know, I have to talk to Ben about it. And I'm like, don't record right now, don't do that.
These chapters were so good, and I've been waiting so long to talk about them. But it was very nice, and it was the right call. But
yes,
yeah,
it's just hilarious to me. So I just wanted to share that. But anyway, we'll get into our summary section here. So, Blake and Evan somehow find themselves at a curious disadvantage. They kind of don't know how they got there. But Blake ends up being bound by one of the Bahame kids. Gremlins basically come to the rescue and stall the Bahames and kind of break up their flow. Laird shows up and ends up getting captured. And then we get a flashback looking at Eamon and Rose Sr.'s relationship over the years. What do you think of these chapters, Malia?
It was so good. There was so much. Also, briefly to touch on 6.11, the more I think about it, the more I just like love it, because Blake starts off being like, I'm bewildered, and I was like, I'm also bewildered, and it was just this really cool like I imagine what happened between Blake leaving the bathroom and like Blake consciously finding himself in that position, and it's so fun to like not know and to like imagine all the like ridiculous shit that happened. Like, because also like cool magic fight would have been cool, but it's just really fun. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
never really knowing.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Wild Bow has really been really good at like sticking with Blake's perspective. And so like we will never know because Blake will never know, and it's just kind of, it's great.
It's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get started then. Blake and Evan basically find themselves surrounded, missing their equipment and missing Rose. Blake is bound by one of the Bahames, and Evan goes to find help.
Yeah. I just had a thought of how these are all like children / teenagers. And like this must be sort of what it feels like fighting the Kenneteers in a way, where it was like, it's a bunch of children who are all here to like, I mean, this is a very like fight for my family, blah, blah, blah sort of thing. But it must be a little bit disconcerting to like fight 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
And I mean, Blake is like way less experienced than them and all of that, so he like doesn't know what's happening. But it's just sort of an interesting, and like his little nicknames, the sunglasses, sticky notes, candle girl. I don't know if she had a nickname, but yeah, it was lovely. And I'm kind of like, okay, this was very like actiony. And it was just like, being confused. Like, Evan stopped Blake from jumping over the fence, and I was like, was that an accident or was that on purpose? And it was like, oh, it was on purpose because the sticky notes fucked up the fence. And then, there's just lots of chaos. It was also interesting that, like, it's the same area where Blake had escaped the police station the first time. Like, failed and then did, and then they went back or whatever. Because, like, I could picture it pretty well. And it was like, oh, that car, and like, oh, the fence. I don't know. But I guess I do want to talk about, like, these children who have volunteered to fight a diabolist. We spend a lot of time, especially like where Pale is now. There's a whole bunch of, like,
I want to point. Sorry, this is not that important. But you put in the notes like a squid's limp testicles, and I just want to point out it's tentacles. It was not testicles. Yes.
It wasn't testicles?
It was not testicles. It was like a squid's limp tentacles.
No, let me read it. I swear to God, I thought it said a squid's limp testicles, and I thought it was, like, very poetic and very evocative, and I didn't need that in my life.
No, it's really not. I can send you the link.
Oh, it does say tentacles. Thank you, Albo. I'm sorry, everyone.
That's okay. I mean, to be fair, they never would have known unless I pointed it out just now. But
part of me was just like, I don't need that in my life right now.
Yeah, I mean, no one does, and that's why he didn't say it. But
that's so good.
All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead with your.
No, we're good.
The talking about the children. Let's get away from
the squid.
The squid.
So, like, I mean, this is the story where the hero is cavorts with demons, which, traditionally that's not the hero. So it's really, like, it's possibly easier to put yourself in the shoes of the people who are fighting against Blake because they think that they're justified. That one point where he says, like Ainsley, like, the fact that you'll let your cousin die, like, that makes me better than you. And she's like, no, like, if I let 100 people die to stop you, like, that would still be way better or whatever. Like, that would still be good for the universe. And, like, she's wrong. There are probably a lot of other diabolists where she would be totally correct. In this case, Blake is a good person and doesn't want to hurt people.
Yeah.
But it putting yourself in the shoes of, like, these children and teenagers who are stepping up to, like, help their family fight the demon lord. It's like, it's evocative, kind of, because you're just like, no, stop it, like, stop it, like, Conquest is bad, stop helping Conquest, like, don't do this, like, don't be little shits. But also just, like, I think Ainsley in particular was super, I don't know if the word is sympathetic, but I really like her. Even though she's the one who, like, binds Blake and, like, whatever. Whereas the, like, guy cousins were kind of little shits. I don't really remember much about either of them. They sort of suck. But I don't know. Wildbow just does a good job at making you empathize with people, as we all know, which is, I guess, where I'm going with this.
All right. No, that's true. I agree with you. He does a really good job at making you empathize.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I keep thinking back to that you thought it said. Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like,
I know! It was horrible!
Like, how, like...
I know they don't have them, but it didn't matter. It was like a play on words and just, like, horrible.
Wow, I think I just came up with...
oh, no.
I have a new fact. I could wait to the end. But, apparently... I'm just gonna let you guys know. Free fact. Some female squid can wear fake testicles to avoid overly aggressive males.
So they have testicles?
No, it's basically like they like.
No, like squid. Fascinating. I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm so
sorry. I'm so confused. Wait, why didn't you think squid have testicles? I mean, I just have to say also, like, this the title of this article I'm looking at, it's like in quotes, it's like a deep sea version of truck nuts. And then someone says, yes, that's a direct quote from National Public Radio. So that was on NPR. So yeah, so it's
Deep Sea Truck Nuts is a pretty good episode
that's pretty
title.
good.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn good. That's true. So yeah, I guess female market squid specifically. I don't think it's all squid necessarily. So can control the coloring on a specific white stripe that gives the appearance of testicles on their body. So they kind of just paint on their balls when needed. Says, and then they link the original study there. They also say some squid have elbows.
Where?
Oh, that's a weird picture. It says like, yeah. So specifically, this show was talking about the creepy alien-looking magnapinna or big fin squids that have been caught on camera hovering eerily in the water while holding their tentacles at 90-degree angles. And it straight up does kind of look like they straight up like just bend their tentacles.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that's weird. All right, well, I always like to add facts sometimes, you know, just because that way, if you didn't enjoy anything else, at least you learned something, right? At least I mean, not that you're not going to have really a practical use to know about deep sea truck nuts unless you go on Jeopardy. But, you know, now.
But you just might find yourself there.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? You could be on a first date and trying to think of trivia. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, that's not necessarily a great, well, that could be great for certain things, you know, weeding out weird people. Or if you're really into facts like that, weeding out normal people. You know, I mean, but otherwise, like, yeah, make like your next family dinner a little bit more interesting. Like, hey, like Aunt Susan,
No,
you know, before you pass the turnips, let me tell you about my squid facts I learned on a podcast.
Let me tell you about the squids.
Tell you about the squids. I haven't had turnips in years, by the way. I don't know why I chose that vegetable, but I'm pretty sure I haven't.
They're
had
nice. They're like potato alternative.
I
put them in a stew the other week.
Maybe that'll be my next thing I have to try.
There's turnips, there's parsnips, and there's radishes. And turnips are like alternate potatoes. Parsnips are like perfumed carrots that I don't really like that much. And then radishes are just like crunchy.
I've had radishes plenty of times. I don't think I've ever had a parsnip before.
They're weird.
Yeah.
They're very fragrant and they look like carrots, but like white carrots.
Like white carrots. Yeah. I know that I don't think they're that common in here, at least. Right? Either that or I've just been like hidden away from parsnips my whole life for who knows why. But good for you for. Did you cook with parsnips, Malia, or did you just have them somewhere?
Yeah, that was part of the stew. It was like this Guinness stew recipe.
Was that one of your Game of Thrones cookbook thing? Okay.
No, this was just the internet.
It was just the internet. All right. Well, good for you for seeking out your parsnips and whatever other random vegetable I was just talking about. Turnips. I don't know why that escaped my brain. That's not that weird. But good for you for cooking with those because I haven't had either. Well, I have never had parsnips, but I haven't had turnips in I don't even know how fucking long. So that's going to, I mean, I don't really care what our actual discussion question is, but I'm going to say right now, just throw it out there. Anyone who's listening is absolutely appalled that like I haven't really been eating either one of those vegetables. Feel free to throw down some recipes. In fact, just like anytime you're listening to this podcast, feel free to just throw down some recipes, you know, because like I always appreciate
open invite. Yeah.
Open invite. Just give me some recipes. I mean, preferably good ones. Like if you made something that sucks, yeah, I mean, I don't know why you'd still have that recipe, but like, yeah, like
if you throw down a parsnip recipe, you also have to justify yourself and tell me why it's actually good. And if the reason is just that you like parsnips, then I probably won't like your recipe.
But I might, because I don't know what it tastes like. So,
or her husband might. I don't know if they're like Eastern European.
I mean, I don't know if he's ever had a parsnip either, but or maybe he doesn't know what the English name is for it. I've never heard him talk about parsnips. I don't know how we got from squid tentacles or like testicles to parsnips.
Sorry,
I'm trying to remember, but like it's gone too far. So let's keep moving on to the actual content.
So speaking of like things that look like white carrots, this candle's so fucking cool.
What are you talking? I can't see a camera. Like, what? What
so the candle is a white candle.
Yes,
it has lots of lines on it, like a carrot or a parsnip.
Okay, got it.
And it's super fucking cool. I'm like really into it. It's like wonderfully witchy, wonderfully like, yeah, it just makes me feel all like ooh Salem and ooh like classic witchy stuff. And it's just this like teenager standing in a police parking lot. She's probably wearing just, you know, like jeans and snow boots and whatever the fuck. And this like candle with these fucking needles. It's so fucking cool. I don't understand it, but it's so fucking cool.
It is pretty sweet. It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. I also was confused about how I thought she was stabbing every single line, but I kind of think maybe she started skipping lines for some sort of threes reason, and I'm not sure if that was what was happening or if Blake was just like, if time was passing strangely for him. Because the first time I thought it was time passing strangely, and then the second time I didn't. Because like if Blake just like freezes for a bit, then I don't know. It was weird.
I kind of took it as more of a chronomancy thing myself, but
yeah, I'm not really sure. Chronomancy would be something I'm hoping that like Pack Dice has shit on it that I can read eventually, because it's super cool, and Wildbone seems to make it have like really intense consequences, like cost a lot of power, be very complicated, potentially like fuck you up.
Yeah.
And so it's really fun because it is such a powerful form of magic. That Wildbow's take on it is something I really would love to get into. And maybe we will, since we have Laird the Captive. Yeah, let me see.
How exciting.
Yeah. Do you have comments on anything else I put in this section? Because if not, I'm ready to move on, I think. Oh, one thing. The counting thing, that was so brilliant. I like that he was like, yeah, don't shout out like random numbers, like just count, because then the person's brain will like start counting along with you.
Oh, that is pretty smart.
It was really great. Yeah.
That's totally true. At least I feel like it is, because I get that's a lot more distracting because your brain just automatically wants to be like,
wee!
5, 6, 7, and like, damn it. Yes, I agree. No, I don't think there's anything else. I keep going back to like our weird shit before, so I'm just gonna keep on moving on. Basically, some gremlins come and wreak some havoc.
Yay! I don't remember which one of the kids says this, but they're like, no horror movie stuff, please no. And it's just another one of those reminders that like most practitioners don't get into like fights. Which is bananas. It's bananas. It's like, I guess these books wouldn't be that fun if it wasn't just like fucking magic battles and shit all the time. But it's hard for me to imagine, considering how contentious these families and everything are, just like not getting into magic-y battles somewhat often. But maybe they do, like, they practice and stuff, because these kids, I mean, like, Ainsley binds Blake, you know, she does the thing. They don't completely not know what they're doing, but also so much of the practice is so like scary and gross, and they don't seem to have experienced much of that, which is funny. Because like the first in Pale, right, when the Kenneteers are made aware, all of the others look scary. And so the idea that like all of the others were probably like horror movie candidates when they you know, are standing in that clearing. And so it's just like, but I guess they're chronomancers, so they just get like old dudes standing around and like clocks and hourglasses and shit. And they're like, the other big family in the town is fucking enchantresses. So
It's fair.
Yeah. But yeah, these gremlins are scary. Maggie seemed to say that she only fucks with the scary goblins. Or like Blake said something that she said that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering if in my mind, I feel like I am having a hard time comparing these to the other goblins that we've seen in like Pale, for instance. I mean, these obviously aren't like Peckersnot, because Peckersnot's little and adorable or whatever. But how do these compare to Tatty and Ram Jam and whoever the fuck?
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you're on the other side of the Kennet goblins, they're pretty intimidating.
True.
Like they can fuck you up.
They sure can.
Yeah. I also really love that that Blake saves Ainsley, where he's like, like, I fucking bind myself, like, get out of the way. Like I won't move till you release like fucking move. It's just like Blake's wonderful and tried so hard to connect with these people. I feel like the same way that the Kenneteers really try to make connections. I mean, that's something that Avery in particular prioritizes. But I think that Blake really tries to appeal to people's humanity and reach out to people and like try to connect with others a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And his karma's fucked. And there's a lot stacked up against him. But I wonder if he does a decent job anyway, on a certain level.
Yeah.
But yeah, are you willing to trade away his life for some better fortune in the family? Because if you are, then I'm fucking better than you. Like that's he's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, also, like I put a note that clearly Ainsley needs to read Black Lamb's Blood. To learn how Diabolus can be not the worst. I don't know. It's awful.
I'm sure that that's gonna go around well. Yeah, that would go over real well. I mean, I'm sorry, but like, if you have to admit, like, in terms of because I get like, they wrote that book like to try to like, make some good points for diabolism. Maybe, I mean, I guess it had to be called something kind of diabolus-esque, but I mean, like, really? Black Lamb's Blood? That's like what you're gonna pick to try to get other practitioners to like read your fucking book to like,
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Like that's your choice. Yeah. Like, why not just something boring like the case for diabolism? Or like, like, I don't know, like
someone needs to bind the demons.
Yeah, like yeah, I don't know, like Demon Busters. Just trying to think of like something like Ghostbusters.
Who are you gonna call?
Yeah, that was not clever.
It's to the point.
Ghostbusters? What not Demon Dabblers? Yeah, no. I mean, I'm not saying I'm coming up with a much better name, but like Black Lamb's Blood's pretty much like pretty. That's a little too on the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's bad.
That's fair. Yeah, and then so at the end of this, Evan's like, we need help. These gremlins were sort of help, but also like real shit help. And so he asks Evan to go get the hyena. And this was just like so great and very like kind of like worrying, but also you need to get out of the situation and it's better than using poos. And I love that he's like, will you forgive me, Evan? And he says yes, because your heart is in the right place, even if this is stupid.
Yeah.
And I really love that Blake is like, tell the hyena to do whatever you say, like not whatever I say, but whatever you say, like really trying to give Evan
trying to give him as much agency as possible.
Yeah. And to allow Evan to control the situation with the hyena as much as he can. Because
it's terrifying.
They save the day. Evan and the hyena, the new dynamic duo.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Are you thinking, is that going to be the new team?
I really want to see fan art of the hyena like blowing the fence down with a little bird on top of its head. Like, I love that.
That would be pretty sweet.
I really want that.
That'd be pretty cool. That's true. Oh man. All right. I guess we're moving on to the next part. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You're good.
Laird arrives.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun dun dun. We kind of mentioned this but Evan comes in with the hyena, which helps to free Blake, and Laird ends up getting knocked out and is captured, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, rotting the door open is cool. Like, it seems like an unnecessary use of power potentially, but also fucking cool. Yeah. I don't fully understand what's up with Laird, and I feel like that I'm sort of supposed to by now. But Laird is like, I want to see you live as a non-threat for at least a little while longer, whereas like I think everyone else wants you to be dead. I'm wondering, like, does he want to prevent Rose from taking over as the new Thorburn? Yeah.
I mean, we just captured him, so maybe you'll find out more next time. You're like, that's the most annoying answer.
I really hope so. Yeah, because then God, this part was just so good because the whole like huff and puff thing, which is very like nursery rhymey, like, but Evan fucking gets it when he can't even, like, no one can understand what Blake's saying, and he's just like, yeah, and he calls the goblin like stupid or whatever. It was really good. And I have a note, like, how many candles does this girl have? Like, she just keeps pulling out fucking candles trying to bind people, and it's kind of awesome. Oh my god, and then the goblin fucking peed on the candle to put it out. That was really funny.
That's disgusting and
it was so horrible. And then he uses the sticky note to like electrocute himself / the pea, which knocks out Laird, which was amazing. And I don't really remember what happens to the kids. They like run away or something. And then yeah, they did it. They knocked him out. He's down for the count, and they are getting away. At the end when Rose comes out and is like, yeah, we were trapped or whatever, and then the Teleman is, she's like, go do this, and he's like, yes, mistress. And Blake's like, oh, that was a little creepy. I was like, that was super fucking creepy, Blake!
Yeah, that's pretty damn creepy.
It was like, super fucking creepy. The word mistress,
like, yeah,
is creepy.
That's creepy. That's pretty creepy.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we end this chapter with, I think I figured out the trick to the Behemoth's power, and I'm like, what? It seems like after the next chapter, the answer may be something to do with demons, but also I don't know.
Okay. All right. Any last thoughts on that, or you want to move on to the next section?
Yeah, I think we can move on. I'm just very hype, and I feel like I should have pieced together more of what's happening than I have, but
you're fine. Don't even worry about it. You're good. All right. So we come to History's Arc 6. And I put, like, I was getting real lazy with my summaries, guys. But it's fine. We're gonna go through it. But basically, we look through Eamon, Behem, and Rose Senior's history and kind of the relationship with one another. And they kind of talk about how they want to work together to change the system. It starts out basically like they've obviously just boned, which real, and he's just real, like, mad about it.
He's so upset.
He's real mad.
I really love that this starts off the moment that Grandma Rose's diary ends, or at least that section that we got. It's like literally that moment, and that was really fun. It helps with the continuity, seeing things from Eamon's side, but also he never once comments at how it's super weird that this chick is writing in her fucking diary after having sex with him, like immediately after having sex with him. She didn't even go home before she wrote in her diary, and like, I love that for him. Like, he was just like, yep, this is totally not even, like, he mentioned, like, oh, it looked like a diary, but he wasn't like, what the fuck? Like, and I really love that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess just thinking back, like, there's probably some weird shit that some practitioners have to do, like, after having sex sometimes. And the only reason I'm thinking of that, like, is just, do you remember, what's his face? I don't know, I'm blaming the Musser fucker.
Reed?
Reed, yeah. I think it was Reed that, like, like, he, even, like, a girl that he wanted to have, like, sex with, or if he had to clear it with, like, his family. And they had to, like, I feel like there was, like, weird precaution stuff that he had to take, and
to,
so,
like, not give his sperm away to someone who could use it for something.
Yeah. So he's probably thinking, like, well, she's a diabolist, so this is probably the best case scenario.
It's a diary.
Yeah. I mean, or he didn't want to think about how, like, it could be a demonic weird diary, and he's like, let's just not think about it. I don't know. But but I wouldn't be surprised, like, if there's a lot of different practitioners that have to do weird stuff after hooking up.
Yeah. God, it's so complicated to be a practitioner.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm like, it's already, like, complicated, and like that kind of situation would just be weird in general, like, if you weren't that crazy about the person, or like, or you just, like, had, like, an antagonistic relationship and end up having angry sex. I mean, just for normal people, like, it's like, this is gonna be kind of weird, or like, this might be kind of awkward, or but that's a whole new dynamic.
Yeah. And then it was also
No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, it was also, like, nice that Rose waits for him to wake up so they can talk about it, because I was like, I mean, Rose Senior doesn't seem to avoid things, but on the other hand, I could have seen her just be like, and I'm fucking leaving, like.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, I don't. Sorry, I'm just like, us just talking about, like, I feel like that would, in a way, be a pretty interesting discussion question, but I also really don't want that to be a discussion question. What kind of, like, weird sex stuff, like, after sex precautions, do you think other practitioners do? Depending on the practice. Yeah.
Okay, we'll think about it.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a definite maybe.
It's a definite maybe, but it seems weird as fuck.
Post your recipes for your favorite
post-coital
snack.
No, don't taint my recipes, you fuck. No, I want your turnip and parsnip recipes. I don't want any post-coitus fucking shit. I want your vegetable recipes, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, although I have to say, like, if that's your first, like, instinct after, like, getting done, like, to, like, go and, like, prepare something from scratch. I mean, kudos.
Well, maybe you just, like, have these around, You
just in case, you're like,
you make them, like, once a week.
Open the post sex box. Let's get I don't know. Let's get a cookie. Like, not that cookie jar. We have our special cookie jar. Like, maybe it has weed in it.
There's that thing with old movies and, like, having a cigarette or whatever after you have sex. Like, maybe some people, it's like, yes, the peanut butter bars.
The peanut butter bars. Oh, jeez. I mean, maybe. Yeah, I feel like I could see edibles. Share us your favorite edible recipe. Sure. Why not? Turnips, parsnips, and edibles. There's another potential title for you, Malia. All right. Okay. All right. So,
but yeah, so the idea that she might be pregnant was fun. Because we don't know about her husband, and, like, the father of her children or whatever. So there was a, like, kind of question mark over this. But then she was like, no, it's fine, or whatever. But for a second, it was kind of funny. And it's funny how she, like, teases him kind of in this way. She's like, we'll have to wait 9 months to see, like, how bad of a mistake this was, lol.
He was like, oh, fuck. All right.
He freaked out. Oh, I just love it so much. Yeah. Then I also, because the goblin was there, what's his name? Ars Pint, when they were having sex. And I put, what is with others watching people have sex this week because I wrote these notes last week when we got the short Smoogle Eloise chapter.
Yeah. Yeah. What the fuck?
Which was weirder than this.
That was weirder than this. Yes. Yes, it was.
Yeah. But yeah, and this seems to confirm that her dad is a blackguard because she says my dad doesn't practice. And I mean, like, theoretically, blackguard.
Blackguard.
Yeah,
I was like, what's a blackguard? My dad's a blackguard.
He's a blackguard.
Sorry.
Because like my dad doesn't practice or whatever could mean, you know, in like normal world, that could just mean like, oh, he used to do this and now that he doesn't. But you can't like used to it. I mean, you can stop practicing, but it seems to suggest that he is not awakened. Awoke. So that was kind of a nice confirmation. Yeah, I love that by the end of this, because like speaking of Rose's parents, the end of this little section or whatever, or maybe the next one, she talks about, you know, how her mom just like ignores her. And then she starts talking about how, you know, becoming the Thorburn Diabolist means that there's a whole bunch of like weight and responsibility on your shoulders. You get the whole karmic debt burden or whatever. And he's like, oh, well, maybe your mother like is trying to leave you alone to let you experience like those freedoms or whatever. And that I think is like the best interpretation of what Rose's mom has done. And it's nice to think that maybe that's true. And I love that Eamon sees this as a possibility and option. And it's very clear that Rose has never considered this. I don't know. I really love their friendship. I really love their whole dynamic, and everything in this chapter was just so delightful.
Yeah.
Because I still love Grandma Rose, even if she's fucking nuts. Yeah. So then in this little beat, a theme of this seems to be patterns. That there's defined roles for Eamon. There's defined patterns that these families go through, and they're slowly degrading somehow over time, and they make very small incremental changes. And Rose wants to break away from patterns. And I'm not fully sure what Rose wants and what her goal is and what the fuck is going on. I think maybe that's a big part of the story. Because it seems like by the end, Eamon agrees to help Rose fuck shit up. And Laird and Blake and Rose 2.0 are all parts of that. And I'm fascinated to see what happens.
2.0.
Rose 2.0. But yeah. So then Eamon's like, I have a job and I hate numbers. And he talks about the ice cream parlor. And I just had this like deep yearning in my heart for the ice cream parlor in Jacob's Bell and how I want to go back there.
Yeah.
I miss it so much. It was nice being in this town.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and then Rose shows up and he's like, hey, let's fuck shit up. One thing that she said was that she doesn't trust the site fully, and I didn't get that. Do you get that?
I'm not sure. I mean, I guess maybe, well, I don't know. It depends on what her site is.
That's true. Yeah. It was just sort of a like,
maybe having such bad karma can cause things to not be as good as.
Totally. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
And then at one point she says, few things annoy me more than being called a liar, which reminded me of how Blake basically called her a liar, and then she like called him on it, and he was like, well, no, I guess you're not technically lying. And it just like, that's funny that it, you know, it's really held. Because for Rose, like, obviously practitioners don't want to be gainsaid, but for Rose it seems like even more of a thing that she hates.
Yeah.
I think she is very like upfront with people in her life.
Yeah. I think you're probably right.
Yeah. Rose is alone. Rose wants to change things. Rose wants to do something. But it doesn't feel like the way Miss wants to change things necessarily. Like Miss has a goal of like breaking the pattern, twisting the pattern in such a way that like helps to unravel like a lot of the really shitty things in the practice. And I think that Rose Grandma Rose wants to help people, wants to make the world better, but also she seems like somewhat bored, like very lonely and like afraid of the future. And I can't quite pin down like what she wants to change or why.
Hmm.
Um and like in what way. Um my view of Rose Senior by the time she's like binding Barbatorum is of someone who's like incredibly like meticulous and smart and has thought things through a lot, and even Rose when she's younger. So I think that there is a plan. I think that there is a series of steps that she wants to execute, but I don't get it. um Eamon at one point says, while talking about Barbatorum, that, you know, she did this for a good reason. Like she did it to try to like help people save the world, something something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, yeah, that this is going in a positive direction, but I have no idea.
Hmm.
um
So yeah, I mean, what did you? I guess what were you thinking when like you saw the Barbatorum here in the flashback? I guess like.
well, just the fact that Eamon was there was nuts. Like
Yeah.
absolutely fucking nuts, off the wall, batshit crazy.
Yeah.
He didn't do things, it doesn't seem like, but he was there and he watched it all happen and like was there as a witness. Rose needs someone to check her. um and seeing her like so completely alive and so like proud of this accomplishment and being like completely and totally fucking disturbed by that because she
Yeah.
summoned and found a demon and she was like thrilled by it.
Yeah.
Like it seems like that really like put a strain in their relationship, which was the bummer. But Eamon having been present there really it changed the scene for me, I guess.
Yeah.
It was interesting thinking about, you know, presumably his family did not know and would not have whatever approved of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just different imagining Rose doing it alone versus Rose doing it with someone there with her. Because I never imagined her husband or anything helping her. And I still, I guess, I mean, maybe it was more than just Eamon there, but I don't know.
All right. Any other thoughts on this right now?
I'm ready to move to like the
Talk about the end
funeral
of the
scene,
arc.
I guess.
Oh, that's right. The funeral scene.
So Rose is like in her 50s and she's holding a baby? Am I right? Because
Mm,
35 years after you're like 16-ish means you're like 51. And she's holding a baby. How did she do that?
it's magic, Malia.
Okay. I'm just like, okay. And we see little Laird, which is fun. And I love that she's just sort of like, yeah, you're gonna spoil him rotten, you know, like you're just gonna fucking, of course you're gonna spoil your child. Like it just, I don't know, it was kind of cute.
Yeah.
Um, I like that Eamon decides to not bind his son in the ways he was bound, in terms of like not spending up the family power. It seems like they need this power and they need the diabolism to do something. Um, but the idea that like Eamon can't protect Rose from his son is really foreboding.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Um, I also had a fun moment where Eamon's dad's name is Malcolm, but without the second L. But
Mm.
I was like, Fell's name is Malcolm, like
Yeah.
with the second L, but maybe this is possibly another clue pointing at his mom being Bahame, which would be fun.
Hmm.
I don't get why his dad is like an echo standing there. I mean, like magic or whatever, but it's interesting. Also, is his dad like listening to them talk? I mean, he's not really his dad anymore, but like, slash, he's not really his dad, but it was a lot. And at one point, Eamon is like, oh, the sickle had cut away the names. The name had fallen from Eamon's recollection. And I'm like, what name? Like, this is a Barbatorum reference, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But to what?
Mm-hmm.
And then, but yeah, in this moment, he's like, I am the head of the family and we're gonna fucking stir shit up, but also my son is gonna hate you or something. But also you're gonna teach him how to like work with demons. Like you're gonna secretly tutor my son in how to
Deal.
fuck with demons. But he won't actually fuck with demons because people would probably be able to tell because of the practice. I don't know. This is like one of the things I'm like, what did Grandma Rose teach Laird? What does Laird remember? Is Laird's power from the demons? Yeah. So Rose had embraced diabolism as a way to protect others, which is lovely. And we're gonna teach him diabolism. And I was wrong about the Barbatorum life extension thing. She's like, I thought about it, but no. And so, like, bummer. But also, I'm glad that the story was like acknowledged that I was, I had thought about it. But also, it's like, oh, so Eamon helped her. Like, Eamon is because it was very like chronomancy bullshit. Stroke of midnight to be like, and now you will die at this exact whatever the fuck. Like, that was actually pretty chronomancy bullshit. But so that was kind of fun. God, and she's like, oh, I think it'll be okay if your son fucking tries to ruin my whole family's shit, because I have this demon who can carve out reflections. And then, so in that moment, I got super fucking mad at myself because I thought that I had just missed this incredibly obvious thing. And I went back and I read it, and it doesn't say it, or they didn't, the like chapter 3 or whatever the fuck doesn't say like carve out a reflection. Because hopefully I would have noticed it, but like, oh my god, she somehow used Barbatorum to carve away Blake's reflection and like make Rose from it and like have it be a time delay. Chronomancy, fuck. Why did Molly have to die? I'm mad. Why didn't she just make Blake her heir immediately? Ugh. Fuck this. God. Also, what if these people stopped having children? What if Grandma Rose just like hadn't had a fucking child? You know? Like, what's the universe gonna do? Just like, oh well, there's much karma, fucking suck it. Bury it with the demon under the house. Like, I'm so mad.
It's funny seeing you so mad about it.
Why did Molly have to die? I'm so upset. Also, where's Paige? I'm just, Molly and Paige and the house and the ice cream parlor. Fucking Laird. I'm so hyped for this next section, but also just like, yeah.
All right. On that note, let's talk about the end of the arc. We're at the end. What does subordination mean?
I don't know. I found this one a little bit harder to figure out why Wildbow had named it subordination. One thing was like Blake got himself subordinates in this arc.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny. And maybe like Grandma Rose is trying to subordinate the practice. I feel like often the interludes have a really strong, or have a somewhat strong connection to the arc title in this story, but I can't quite pin it down. What do you think? Do you have any thoughts about subordination in this arc?
I mean, I feel like I was trying to. Is there like a specific law thing for subordination? I'm trying to remember. It's
the mortgage lien thing where you can subordinate lien, where if I owe you money, and then mom comes along and like gives me a loan, I owe mom money, you can choose to subordinate your lien in favor of mom's. If that makes sense. So I would have to pay mom back first. Like, mom would have priority.
Sure.
So I was like, oh, Blake's gonna have to like do some like crazy shit where he like gets out of one thing by agreeing to another thing, but like that didn't happen this arc. Because like Blake also didn't like fucking lose this arc. Like the conquest shit isn't wrapped up.
True.
And like he's gonna die, and I don't know.
I'll go with yours. I like him.
Cool.
It's kind of a cop out, but I'm going with it. Finally. All right. We're gonna talk about how.
But first, can we talk about where this is going?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sorry. I just saw that. I got excited. All right. Yes.
I know.
We're gonna talk about where this is going. Where is this going?
Yeah. I'm just picturing like Laird like bound in Blake's apartment while they're being like. Well, Blake is like monologuing, and then Laird is like monologuing, and it's all like, "You're a diabolist, bitch," and like being like, "Tell me fucking answers to the things I've been wondering about since the prologue of this, or the first chapter of the story." And maybe this next arc will be the end of the conquest plot arc.
It could be. We'll see.
All right.
Okay. Sorry. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? Everyone who's reading Pale will be excited. So, all right. Pale in comparison section. Go ahead, Malia. You can read that out.
Can we talk about how Eloise is definitely a Duchamp?
Yes, we can. Yes.
So one thing that's super funny, I think that when we recorded Mom's episode, I hadn't read Eloise's chapter yet. I don't know if it had come out.
It had.
But I hadn't read it yet, so I didn't like remember much about her or whatever from like the whole rest of Pale. And so during the episode, Mom's talking about Eloise and Jenny's like, "Oh yeah, Malia, do you remember what Eloise's power is?" And I was like, "Fuck no!" Like, what are you talking about? And you're like, "Okay." And then I read Eloise's thing, and I was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
Oh, this is so funny because then I like, yeah.
This is one of those things that people have just been waiting for it to click.
Yeah, have y'all known since like forever?
Oh yeah, for sure. When like when we started to like the the BHI and saw like some blonde chick with like who's engaged to somebody immediately. We're like, okay, but yeah, for sure.
I mean, I remembered she was blonde, but I didn't remember that she did connection stuff.
I mean, it wasn't surprising that like it took you a while to, because it's not like you did, well, when we were at that part, I don't even think we had started reading, or if we hadn't gotten to any of like the Duchamp parts, so it's not a surprise, but in fact I wasn't 100% it was going to click yet because we hadn't gone back to the Duchamps in a while, but I'm glad that it did, because that's one of those things people are wondering. Where it's like, oh, I can't wait till Malia figures out that Eloise
it's definitely a Duchamp. The which is just great and cool, and like Wildbow found a great way to tie in Pact without it being a spoiler. I get the feeling that Eloise isn't, from Jacob's Bell, that she's, one of the many branches of this family or whatever. I'm curious as to whether she like has, I mean, they're all connected, right? But I'm wondering, does she know Sandra? Does she whatever? Did she know? I don't know. But yeah, I think the centipede thing threw me off. And I didn't remember that she did anything with connections or whatever. But yeah, in this one, she's just, I feel like at one point, even in her chapter, she like uses glamour or something almost. Like it was just very like, oh yeah, okay, lol.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome.
And it's fun that like he's never said it. But in the student guide, she has Ulysses' last name already.
That's right.
Because I went back and looked, and I was like, what the fuck? And I like went and I was like, I've been like looking for it. And in the student guide, it's Ulysses' last name. And I was like, what the fuck? Part of me thinks at the time I saw that and I was like, oh, that's weird, but okay. And now I'm just like, oh, because it can't say Duchamp.
It can't say Duchamp. Exactly.
Because, I mean, maybe it could, but I don't know.
It's more fun that it doesn't, though.
It is more fun.
Because it's more of like a puzzle piece that clicks,
Yeah.
Clicks into place.
Yeah, it's so funny. Well, so I also expected the Pale Reflections episode to have like a back-to-back section where where everyone was like, yeah, Eloise, she's a Duchamp, blah blah blah, and then it didn't have that, and I was like, oh, maybe like I wouldn't have listened anyway, but they weren't like, we're going back to Pact, and so I was like, yeah, but I guess y'all probably already talked about it unless you haven't.
I'm trying to remember if
I mean, there's not a ton to say other than like, wow, the Duchamps are like super fucked, and
yeah, I mean,
it's interesting that Eloise like wants to get out of her family, but also wants to like help them. I don't know. I know that like Ruben and Elliot have been like very down on Eloise and Liz, and they have really good points. And these people need to become better people, but I still like really like them. I don't know.
I've been really behind on listening to Pale Reflections, to be honest, but that's fair. but
Yeah.
I do like them as well.
Yeah.
Um,
They were just basically saying, like, you know, they're obviously in the wrong, which true. And they're
yeah, but you get indoctrinated and kind of brainwashed for so long, it's hard to get out of that, which
yeah.
makes the
I'm
trio of fresh air or a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. It's like with Ainsley in 6.12. Like I really like her. Even though she was like trying to bind Blake.
The interesting thing is though, like which one of those out of the two, who do you think would be gainsaid?
What?
Sorry, because you're talking about how like she's trying to bind Blake, and Blake is saying like, well, you're objective, like you're obviously worse than I am because like you're willing to like sacrifice your family and stuff, and she's like, well, I could let 100 people die and it still would be worse, like or would be better than letting you go. Who would be gainsaid?
Blake.
Yeah, but
because fuck the spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the whole universe is just so like structured against
it's just so
Diabolus.
against
That
which I mean mostly sure.
Sure. I feel like if you're like working with demons in like a
I'm gonna
I want to get a bunch
power.
of power and like whatever. It's funny because it's like, oh, Blake's definitely going to do that at some point in this story because he's going to need the power to like do something. But in a stereotypical class like mwahaha way, it's obviously fucked up. But
yeah. All right. Well, let's get to Malia's bold and specific prediction. I'm excited.
It's kind of a little bit of a cop-out.
Damn it.
I'm going to let Jenny ask me questions if she wants, but the thing that I wrote down is Arc 7 is one of those arcs. So like Arc 8 of Worm, Arc 13 of Pale, like what arc that is, what happened in that arc, what I'm talking about when I say that, and I think Arc 7 of Pact is Arc 7 of Pact.
Okay. I guess why do you think that? Like what kind of clues, like what's clued you into that?
Well, okay, so this one of the things is that at the end of one of the Pale Reflections episodes, Elliot was like, how they plug different doof things, and he was like, this is a great time to catch up because I think they're about to finish Arc 6, which means they're about to start Arc 7. And I was like, did you say that in just a kind of like, haha, we're ending Arc 6, and so, but like, I don't know. But also just like,
so you're cheating.
We caught Laird. We captured fucking Laird, who may or may not be a Diabolist / no Diabolism. I mean, like at the beginning or whatever, when he was like, ah, yes, I have safely protected my family against these demons that your family has or whatever. And he was like very confident in that. It's like, oh, because he fucking knows. He knows. He knows things. And he just figured out the source of the Behemoth's power, and like it really feels like we're ramping up into something.
Okay. So like this ramp up thing is like something to do like with the Behemoths specifically.
Oh fuck. Well, there's the Behemoths, there's the fact that Isadora is gonna attack Blake today.
That's true. Okay.
And then just Conquest is still I still think Conquest is gonna, but I think maybe we're gonna get some good information, and then we're also just gonna get a bunch of like
Do you think it's gonna be like this is looking up, or like oh fuck, things got even worse than I thought they could?
I feel
this
like for something
the time
right, for something in Pact to be like one of those arcs, I feel like there needs to be like a demon involved. Like I almost feel like they're gonna like use poos in this arc because
okay,
it's gotta be memorable.
Okay, so we're thinking poos and thinking Isadora trying to eat Blake and the Behemoths. So those are like 3 things. You think?
Well, Conquest.
And Conquest, that's right. 4 things there. Okay.
Yeah, part of it is I don't know how long Arc 7 is, which would give me a better idea of like, can we fit all of that in? But I don't know.
So, do you think there's going to be some kind of a twist thing, or like what's going to make it so memorable? I guess it's just that things are going to go so much to shit, or get so great. I guess.
I mean, part of me thinks like, oh, this will be like the arc where like we defeat Conquest in some epic way, and like get to go back to Jacob's Belt, but then also like demons, and or we learn something. Like part of it is like the big arcs in a Wild Bow story that I can think of aren't necessarily like we learned knowledge and understood things, but that's what I want the most to happen. So I'm hoping that it's a little bit of we learn knowledge and understand. I don't know.
All right. Well, I know that you're really excited to start reading Arc 7, so that'll be a nice week for you.
Yes, I'm excited.
All right. We're going to go over our previous discussion question, which, just to remind everybody, because it's been a couple weeks, pick some events described in Pale and rank them on the 1 to 10 badness scale. 8 is destruction of Maggie's town, 6 splinter, or well, that's what we gave as examples according to what they've been talking about. But you can also use different numerical system. So we started with me is E1 or Mace E1. I say that different every time. And I'm going to continue saying it differently every time. They say Brett is clearly a 10, which is hilarious, but I'm like, I mean, as shitty as Brett is, I don't know if I'd say quite that, but they're saying the tattooed number people have to be 10s, right? Because they were saying that, do you remember who those are, Malia?
Vaguely, it's like if they get a tattoo, something really good happens to them, but when they get to a certain number, the world ends or whatever.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. They're saying very selfish. It's pretty damn selfish. Fairy courts are at least 7. And then based on being a 6, Hungry Choir is 4. That's what they put.
Propaganda Pagoda said that Dog Pigman, everybody's favorite boogeyman, was a 2. The overall aware invasion and perimeter breach of Kennet is a 4. The BHI Civil War is a 5. The Montreal Witch Hunters being too tenacious to dip out of the Carmine contest was a -3. And then whatever happened to the Alchemy Heart Boy is an 8.
Okay. And Ghostly Bird, they rated Hungry Choir as a 6. Kennet Found as a 7. And Cherry Pop as a 1. They said that they have faith in Cherry Pop. That's why they said
that. Violet Faith rated the Hungry Choir a 4. The Demon Tainted Thing in the Carmine contest a 4. The BHI War a 2. And the Number Entity tattoo thing, I think, a 9.
Okay, and we've got Tis a Rat. They're rating according to like what they thought the trio would think or Kennet would think. So it said 100. They did 100 to 0, which I think does make a little bit more sense in terms of like, you know. Anyway, it said 100 would be the summer break climax. Like that was just like the shit. Like not the shit isn't a good thing, but like shit. Anyway, it said depending on who you are, 80 or 70. The founding of Kennet outside. I think they said Verona and Matthew were 80 because, you know, they're making domains and Verona might get Forsworn and all that. 75 would be the BHI War, Alexander and Bristow's fate. 50 would be fighting witch hunters. 45 would be dealing with Carmine Charles. 40 would be Forest Ribbon Trail or dealing with judges. 35 Hungry Choir and Binding. 1 would be their awakening. They said 0 would be the Splinter and Lauren Snyder's familiar since they didn't actually know it was there. But to everyone else, it would be like 100 million plus. Which, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that made me laugh. And then Blake Tall said that Sit Sleeves and the Turtle Queen are a 6.
All right. A new discussion question.
Or wait, I wanted to say, I found a lot of y'all's things to be ranked a lot higher than I thought they would be. I guess I don't think of things in Pale as having been quite as bad as some of the stuff we've seen in Pact. But it's an interesting thing where like the Hungry Choir is the one I kept thinking of in terms of like how bad is this? Where is this on the bad scale? And I just think it's really interesting that a lot of you put the Hungry Choir as less than the BHI War or whatever. The Hungry Choir is way more fucked up than the BHI War. Like maybe not the brownies.
Yeah.
But they're fucking horrifying and bad.
I kind of agree with you. I feel like a lot of things were rated like pretty fucking high compared to what I would necessarily rate them, but
But then some things were also lower. It was like,
yeah,
it was just like interesting seeing
like
where
this
people
is subjective, you know?
yeah, think.
Like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, the tattooed number people, I feel like they deserve to be really fucking high, but I don't know if I'd rate them like a 9 or a 10. I might be more like a 7 or 8. And the only reason is because the bad shit hasn't happened yet, which maybe that's not a great reason, but some of that shit is some of the bad shit already happening or has happened. So I think that like means that it already rates worse. But I don't know. It's still bad, but I don't know if it's it's definitely it's not a 10 to me, at least.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
like I still don't really think it's a 9 either. Like I'd say maybe an 8 or a 9. 7's too low, I think. But I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think thinking about it in terms of like Maggie's town and the splinter, like those things have like had a really horrible effect on the world. Whereas the tattoo number thing, if it never gets to that number, won't.
That's a tricky thing because it's
Which
like
is
it has
interesting.
the potential to be really, really fucking terrible, but like, but if it doesn't get there, yeah, that's a hard thing. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like whether that's demonic or whatever that's from, like there's other demonic things that like have occurred that actually affected people. And so I feel like that's probably worse. But I don't know.
Yeah. I also thought that the Turtle Queen and Soot Sleeves, well, like one, I think Soot Sleeves is fine, and I don't know that she's done anything bad necessarily. I guess she did like lure a bunch of people into her thingy and make them suffer or whatever. But the Turtle Queen being on here was something I appreciated because she's scary and a lot.
She's pretty scary. Yeah.
And
true.
I'm wondering when the Kenneteers are gonna wrestle with that and how scary she is.
That's true. And I'm gonna be honest. I don't because I know that we put this on our ranking thing, but I don't think that Maggie's town is an 8.
Well, Maggie said it was an 8.
Yes, she did. Or well, she said that she's seen an 8.
Right. And we're thinking
and we're
that
assuming that that's it. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah. Anyway. All right. What do you have any ideas for a discussion question? Because I'm like recipes or the weird sex question. And I'd rather go with the recipes.
Sorry, I just hit my head on the microphone.
No. I actually really want some recipes, guys. Not just, I don't know. Malia's gonna just let me ramble about recipes for the rest of the fucking podcast.
Well, it was, just the like, what's a weird thing you or someone you've had sex with has done after sex is like sort of funny, but also
it is. Well, shoot, if you are comfortable enough answering that and having us
right.
read
I don't know how many answers we'll
podcast,
get.
Yeah, feel free. You have that question, or give me recipes. You pick whichever one you're comfortable with me sharing on and recording for all time.
Or like what is a recipe? So either like what is a recipe that you think you have like perfected and or you have the perfect version of this one food, or what is a recipe you want to perfect? Because like personally, like I really want like because everyone has a little bit of a different opinion, I think, on chocolate chip cookies, but I want to like create the best chocolate chip cookie recipe for me. I really like soft cookies. And so that's like a lifetime goal that I have, is to one day like try out a whole bunch of chocolate chip cookie recipes and find the one that's like perfect and or like edit it or something. So
that's
do you have
I made chocolate chip cookie bars. I think that those are my best
chocolate chip cookie recipe. Good.
Yeah, they're pretty damn good. Maybe I'll post those on something someday. My best thing I ever want to make. Whew, if I could figure out how to make Azeka's ribs, I'd be so happy. Azeka's is this place that's been closed for like a really long time now, but on Maui, they had the best like Korean style like ribs ever. They're fucking delicious. The marinade was just like top notch.
That's so good.
My dad had been trying to like recreate it for years and years and years. And he got pretty close, I think, but he didn't actually quite get there. So it'd be cool to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I
I mean, they bottle the sauce now, but
yeah,
it's
I don't
hard to
know.
get the cooking style exactly.
Yeah,
I think.
we probably just needed. That's true. If they do bottle the sauce now, they didn't used to. So
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe I'll change my answer. I don't know. I have to think about it. But there's a lot of things I'd like to be a fucking amazing cook at. But anyway, yeah, either that or yeah, whatever recipe you want to perfect or have perfected, or if you really just don't want to share your secret recipe, even though we're probably we live very far away from you, and would not be going into any family dinners where you'd be able to give us that recipe in the flesh anyway. Parsnips or turnips. There you go. Or the sex question,
We're just gonna leave it there.
I'm just gonna leave it there,
Yeah, I can't think of a thing for that question, to be honest. I don't think of like, oh, and then he got out a toenail clipper and started just clipping away. Like, I can't think of anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's
odd
good. That's
like
good. That's really good. Yeah. I fortunately don't have anything for that either. And
what if
yeah.
we could do an experimental question where it's like, if you have sex this week, like, get your diary out and write in it afterward with the other where the other person or people or whatever could notice and tell us what happens.
Yeah, do something really fucking weird with like whoever your partner is, and then share it with us so that we can talk
tell us
about
what
it.
happened.
Oh my gosh. What kind of fucked up show is this?
We're brainstorming. We want audience interaction.
Yeah, I mean, that might be a little bit too much interaction for.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you know what? Whatever you guys are into or whatever you guys are comfortable with, that's cool. Because I know that people have different various comfort levels, and people are going to think we sound kind of like prudish, being like freaked out talking about sex stuff. And some people are going to be like, what the fuck? You guys are weird as hell for bringing that shit up. So whatever you want, because we'll probably get some entertainment out of either type of answer. So
yes.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a rating and review. To support our podcast, go to patreon.com/doofmedia. If you'd like to support Wildbow as he continues to write fantastic stories, go to patreon.com/wildbow.
You can follow the pod on Twitter at Pale Comparison, or send us an email at paleincomparisonpod@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for our Reddit thread in r/parahumans, where you can answer our discussion question and share your thoughts on this episode. In addition, if you'd like to see all of my predictions laid out, check out our episode description for a link to a prediction tracker. Next episode, we will be covering chapters 7.1 and 7.2.
Yay!
Right?
Finally!
Yay!
Yep. Yay! All right. This is a random fun fact that kind of blows my mind a little bit, although I guess it kind of makes sense. While Harvard's acceptance rate is 4.5%, only 2.6% of Walmart applicants are accepted. So statistically, it's easier to get into Harvard.
So yeah, if you've ever worked at a Walmart, you can feel proud.
That's right. Yeah, feel something. Fucking Walmart. All right. Have a good week, everyone.
Bye.